Yeah, let's go.
Hello, BookTube. Well, as you can see, I have a guest. This is Christopher Russell. Care to wave to my imaginary BookTube friends? Christopher Russell
Hello,
used to make
everyone.
videos on BookTube until he stopped. That was several years ago. Uh, he made a video in which he ruthlessly bashed your grandparents' favorite book. Became quite famous for that. uh, and made
Yep.
an infamous video in which he said that making BookTube videos is not all that hard. Became even more infamous for that.
Okay.
And then in the firestorm, pitchforks and torches and whatnot, he eventually decided just to leave the country.
Yeah, I had to escape.
So you went overseas, where I
Yeah.
presume not many people recognized you.
No, no. It was the only way that I could get away from mobs and hordes of people coming after me.
It's perfectly acceptable. At some point or another on BookTube, everybody feels like renewing their visa simply to get away from Randy Ray. It's just natural. It happens to all us all. At one point or another, it happens to us all. I'd be willing to bet that nowhere in your travels did anyone call you darling.
Well,
But
I had to escape Randy Ray, but when I went overseas, I had to also make sure I didn't get sucked into the territory of where Joe Spivey is, because that would have been bad too.
it would have been the ultimate team up if you'd shown up at Joe Spivey's boudoir, Grand Viceroy Spivey's boudoir. That would have been amazing. But but while you were traveling, you were also reading. You actually made a video
Yeah.
about A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, immortally posing for the cover yourself. And that brings to mind a million questions that I always have for people when they travel, which is the natural booktube question, reading and traveling.
Yeah.
You brought e-readers,
Hmm.
right? And used
Yep.
them to the exclusion of all else. Did you bring any physical books?
Nope, not one. I was packing really light, so I only brought one e-reader with me, and I read from it exclusively while I was there.
Was that ever the object of curiosity from people around you in
Yeah,
airports
actually, I
or?
got stopped with people asking me. I think because it's a very, I mean, this is it right here. It's a books device. It's wonderful. I read from it all the time. And it doesn't look like a normal e-reader because it's much larger than most e-readers are. And it's thin. It's obviously not an iPad, which would be the only type of device that, is sort of equivalent in terms of size. So it's obviously not an iPad, but it's not obviously an e-reader either, because it doesn't have the usual e-reader form factor. So yeah, it does draw attention.
It looks odd. Looks like something that would confuse an old man.
I don't think this is old man friendly, to be
Yeah,
honest. I think
yeah.
this is a
The
whippersnapper.
sort of thing an old man would take one look at it and say, "I don't know what this is." But what about to get into the nitty gritty for just a second here? What about the plugs and outlets?
Oh, well, yeah, you have to have one of those universal transformer adapters, because, we have it's not just that the United States has a particular type of plug, but even if Europe has a particular type of plug, but there's a million I think there's like four different ones, and you should really just get a universal one so that no matter what, you're prepared for the outlet that you're in front of, because they can be a headache for sure.
And the spell, the draw, the magnetism of reading that is the heart and soul of BookTube. It's what all of us have in
Yeah.
common. We have nothing else in common.
Yeah.
That didn't go away when you were traveling.
No, no, not at all. In fact,
It would have been bad if you had not read, even when you're experiencing new things.
I think so. I mean, I think that it's interesting because when you're reading, it's all about having different experiences with what you're reading. And so if you're combining reading with having different life experiences and just like where you are and things like that, of course you're going to want to pair the two together, you know. I mean, for me, reading is all about having experiences. So naturally, I would want to have different experiences while I'm also experiencing things like a bus trip between Belgrade and Sarajevo and stuff like that. So
And for you, reading is mostly about having bad experiences, right?
yeah, mainly about just like
Mostly hate the
crapping.
books you read.
Yeah, it's mostly about just finding books that people love and and have talked and praised for generations really, and just sort of like taking them out back and shooting them in the head.
Not
So
always generations. I mean, it's relatively your generation that loves A Little Life,
Mhm.
that you said was miserable and that you would never read again.
I think I was a little bit more nuanced than that. I did say I wouldn't read it again. I wonder if that'll be true forever, but at least for the immediate future, that's certainly the
So,
case.
so did it feel, is there any shift in the sense of Christopher the reader now that you're back home? Or, well, no, you're back home. So if you're like everyone else that I've ever known in my own life, the first 2 weeks of being back home are going to be devoted exclusively to sleeping. But after that, can you hypothesize after that that maybe you'll feel a little different towards reading? What would it be? This coming Friday afternoon, so a full week from today, and suddenly you are back to your normal schedule
Yes.
of waking up at 9, doom scrolling till noon, and then going to bed at 8.
Yeah, great. Yeah. I was sleeping before this. I pulled myself out of bed, sat myself down in this chair, and then the minute conversation's over, I'm back to the bed. But in a week's time, I think that I will be back to my more usual reading. I was surprised at how, when I was traveling, I didn't want to read much nonfiction, which is my go-to. And now that I'm back home, it's like a rebound. I've been like, I want to read all of these nonfiction books. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I felt like I was some kind of journey, and I wanted to read things that appealed to that or something. But it was a lot less nonfiction while I was on the road than
You
usual.
know, it's among other booktube events, it's also October, all about octopuses. So you could read The Soul of an Octopus because it was universally beloved by critics and readers alike. You could read that and tear it to shreds. What are these eight-legged freaks? Probably a good thing that we eat them. Plenty of people like that book. That's prime material for you.
Okay.
Good. What about bookstores when you were
Mm.
traveling? Were you tempted at all to go into them? Did you?
Oh, I went into many.
Libraries.
I
Yes.
didn't, I didn't buy anything because I was, traveling really light. Also, the bookstores that I was going into, um, had very little to offer in terms of books that I could actually read. Because a lot of them were in, Portuguese if I was in Portugal, or Serbian if I was in Serbia. So there wasn't, but I always make a point just to go into bookstores. I think it's surprising. I think you've mentioned this on your channel too, but I think it's surprising how when you're traveling and when you're in kind of touristy places, there's a lot of bookstores that feel like they have to turn the bookstore experience into an amusement park almost to get people to come in. And I always kind of get a little bit turned off by that because whether you're in the United States or whether you're in Portugal or whether you're anywhere in the world, there's, an economic component to buying books and everything like that. And you can just imagine that anywhere in the world, a used bookstore like the Brattle is going to be useful to its readers, people who actually read, and the amusement park store where every book is $35 is not going to be something that a local, somebody who actually lives there, is going to be frequenting all that often.
So
So
did you actually visit bookshops even though you weren't going to buy anything?
yeah, yeah, I always went in. I can't help myself but go in.
I was able to help myself.
Really?
I never even thought of it anymore. I thought the whole part of getting books was just switched off.
Really? No, I wanted to see because I just wanted to see. I mean, for example, I thought it was hilarious when I was in part of my trip included going to Serbia. I thought it was very cool seeing the Serbian translations of English books, and for some reason, the ones that I could identify were about 2.5 times the size of their English language counterparts. I don't know what it was,
Very
but you'd be
cool.
looking at a book that in English would be like 500 pages, and it would be like 1,500 pages in the Serbian edition. I was like, oh my goodness, just huge.
Wow. Were you do you think that you were known to be an American?
Almost nobody guessed that I was American where I visited. I don't know why. I definitely felt like an American in a lot of the places I was. But I got a lot of different people assuming I was a lot of different things other than American. So it was weird.
Is did you maybe dress undemonstratively? Maybe you left your Make America Great Again hat at home.
That's what it
That
was.
tends to be a giveaway.
That's what it was. Yeah.
So what was it like when you came back, that first moment when you looked at your books again? Uh, right, you didn't, of course, because you plunged face first, fully clothed onto the bed. Your best friend. All you people, you have wives, you have children, but you all have only one best friend, and it's your bed. Theoretically, again, hypothetically, what would it have been like to look at your books that first moment
Well,
back?
there's still a morning, right? I plunge into bed, I wake up in the morning, and then my eyes open and I see the books around me, and it was incredible. It was amazing. It was, I was very glad to be back, and I was very glad to be able to pull a book down. I had a couple of books, for example, I don't know why, but I'm going to be making a video about Augustine's Confessions at some point because I keep thinking about it, and I have a Penguin Classic of it, and like I just love that book and that edition for no particular reason other than I've had it for a long time. But it was books like that that immediately I was just like, I want to read from this again now that I'm back,
I'm
and
still reeling about something that you said, but I'm guessing that it's books that would explain it. I I was under the impression that you did not know what morning was, but you've read about it. You've never actually seen or experienced it yourself, but you've read about it. It's the time before noon, but after nightfall.
yeah.
That's amazing. I myself have never seen you move in the morning. I just assumed it was suspended animation time.
It's different when you're up till 3 a.m. just pounding back wine and calzones, okay? It's
So I've been told. But that is very interesting what you say there, that was like a switch going off, and now it's serious works and nonfiction.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you didn't feel a yen towards that when you were out and about, when you were traveling.
No, no. I wanted to read easy stuff. I wanted to read shorter stuff. I wanted to read um stuff that I thought was going to be fun. Um
Easy, shorter, and fun. You pick a little life.
yeah, well, yeah, you're right. That is not
It's not
any of
any one of those three.
no, author. Well, yeah. I think everything but a little life fell into that category, though. I mean, I read like, Ursula K. Le Guin, who's somebody I don't usually read, The Length of Heaven. I read books like The Turn of the Screw, because shorter stuff like that, where it was books that I kind of gravitated toward generally outside of outside of that one example. Yeah.
Hmm. And do you think that in your mind, as you live with those books and roll them around in your memory, they will always be associated with traveling?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Not a question of you being 60 and saying, I don't remember when I first read this book. It'll be latched to the area.
Yeah, yeah, because that's very vivid, like at least right now. I mean, very vivid the experiences. I mean, I certainly have that with music where it's like if I listen to certain music while I was doing something, I will always associate that music with what I was doing at the time. So it's the same thing with books, really.
Like High School Musical.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll always associate it with one particular trauma, no other. It's-
One particular horrible night in my life that I will never want to revisit.
Did you do any picturesque reading while you were traveling? Did you go to a park bench or an iron wrought cafe or the bank of a river?
I feel bad about saying this, but I've when I'm reading and I'm thinking about reading in spaces that are not like my room here, I have a fixation on the chair that I'm going to be sitting in for the time that I'm going to be reading. And so it has to be comfortable. And park benches are not very comfortable for me. So I avoid them. There was this wonderful cafe that I went to. I mean, you saw it also in that Little Life video. There was a library in Lisbon that I went to that was amazing. So there are places like that, but there was also like a cafe that I went to that was like an antique store or something like that that was turned into a cafe, and they had all of these different like lounge chairs around tables, and you could order like a coffee or whatever, but they were just extremely comfortable, and so it was places like that that I spent a lot of my time reading in. So.
You'd find park benches and other stiff surfaces a lot more comfortable if you were fat.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of a cushion between myself and
Now,
the hard wooden
when you're
slats.
fat, you're carrying around wonderful cushions all the time for everything. It's really, really kind of a miracle. So while you were gone, while you were away, did you think about BookTube? I mean, you made a video. Did you watch any BookTube? Did you feel
Um,
connected to this community that hates you so much?
I was I felt guilty most of the time that I wasn't making videos. I mean, I wanted to, but it was so hard. I mean, I don't know if it's just me being weird or whatever, but it's like I need a space of my own to be able to film a video. I don't feel comfortable.
Oh, really? So no travelogue video is forthcoming.
No, not really. I don't think. I was filming clips of things, but for the most part, I was just like I just didn't feel it didn't feel like a normal it didn't feel like an environment where I could just like sit down and get my thoughts out. And so I didn't, as you saw, I didn't post many videos at all during that time, which I felt bad about. So
Yeah, but I would think that everybody in the Western world now knows about YouTubing. I mean, there are thousands of people who make a living doing YouTube of one kind or another.
yeah, yeah, no,
I'm willing to
I
bet that
think it's
wherever you were, you weren't far off from someone who was YouTubing at that moment.
Well, I think it's a different sort of like creative mode that I'm not used to thinking in. I mean, it's like you have to be when you're doing stuff like that, like you have to be kind of like opportunist with like, okay, I'm here, which means I'm going to film now, and this is what I'm going to say. And I don't have that kind of mindset, at least right now, because I'm just like, just like focused on whatever the experience is or who I'm with or whatever. And I don't have that part of my brain that's like thinking, oh, if you picked up the camera right now and made a video, like this would make for like a really good, spot to do that.
Did you do any conspicuously touristy things?
I tried to avoid conspicuously touristy areas. I did do touristy things like I did go to a couple museums and stuff like that, and I was in kind of touristy areas of the cities I was in, but generally I was just like, when you're in these touristy areas, it's like everything gets really expensive and everything gets really crowded, and those are two things I don't like. So I try and avoid those as much as possible.
Also a repulsive personal feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when you're in a touristy place, in addition to the crowds and the money, you're looking around and saying, the last people on earth I want to be are these
Yeah,
people.
exactly. And also the businesses that are in the area that cater to the tourists are usually not at all the kind of places that you really want to be in. I mean, they're there because you're there, and you're trying to find the places that exist because the people who are there use them. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to go to a place that only exists because I happen to be, bumming around this area, and a bunch of people know that, so they set up a little shop or whatever to lure me in. That's not a good feeling either.
So is it culture shock going back to Ohio?
I think it's all too familiar, really.
Most people who live in the areas where you've just finished visiting don't believe that Ohio is even real.
Yeah, a lot of them needed convincing. They were like, I've only heard of that in internet jokes.
The,
I
the
didn't.
region starts with an O, it ends with an O. It doesn't sound real.
Yeah, no, it sounds like some weird fantasy place. Yeah.
And the more you read about it, if they read about it, the less real it seems.
The
But
more they want to think,
that raises the question of what kind of conversations you had. Did you have any conversations, heart to heart, personal conversations with anybody, or were you mostly by yourself?
no, I mean, I definitely had conversations. I don't know if it was like opening up my soul to people. I certainly I didn't meet anybody on on my travels who was where I was from or resembled what I was doing. A lot of people, if they were locals, which I had the best conversations with locals, usually that's the case. Um, they were just I was more curious about what their life was like than me talking about my experiences in Ohio. Um, and but when it came to other tourists, a lot of them were, interested in talking about, their own, travels and stuff like that. So that's really mainly what we talked about. So
A certain sexy, old, wise person warned you not to reveal to anyone under any circumstances that you were from America. And I'm assuming that you did. Did that provoke questions?
yeah, yeah, because most people, and I was shocked about this. I thought I had America written all over my forehead. Most of them just, I could have gotten away with it if I hadn't announced it to people that w when they asked me, where are you from? I could have said anything. I mean, I got people assuming that I was Dutch, German, all sorts of different places. I think people knew that I was a foreigner wherever I was because I wasn't speaking the language, but they didn't assume right away that I was from the States. Um, so, but I also didn't want to mislead anybody. So I did tell them I was from the United States, and yeah, they were curious about that.
In a negative way, I assume.
Mm, Not a negative way, but in like a way of like, well,
Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. 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 Yeah, they were not. It wasn't like people were like, "Oh my goodness, I wish I could." Because I've been traveling my whole life. I mean, I grew up outside of the United States and everything, and so it's like there was a certain time when it was like the United States was a fascination for people because they all wanted to go there. And there was a lot of people that I met during this time who had never been to the United States and had absolutely no interest in going. And that's new. That's new in
That's
my experience.
that's never.
Usually it was like, oh, you're from the United States. I want to go there so badly. I want to visit there or I want to move there or something like that. And that was not, I never met anybody like that on this time. So,
I even eons ago when I was traveling, I never revealed that I was from America,
yeah,
and no one ever suspected it. No one ever
yeah,
thought that.
well,
And I would hear routinely people saying, not just I want to visit, but I want to go and live there.
yeah,
That's where I can pursue my own business. That's where I can
right,
make money that I can
right,
send back home.
right.
That's where there'll be room for me to breathe
Yep.
and a lot less social restrictions.
Yeah.
That that I heard that over and over again.
Oh yeah.
Dropped and heard that over and over again from people.
Yeah.
And that is over. That
Yeah.
is no one thinks that anymore.
Well, that was back when the United States was the economic center of the world, and it's no longer that. So, and if you travel internationally, you'll see that. I mean, I was in Munich, Germany, and it had a feeling of, I would imagine, what maybe New York felt like in the 50s or something like that. It had a completely different feeling to it than all of the United States cities that I've been to, and it felt like a sort of, it felt like a place where, the economy was running in a way that I haven't felt in the United States in a long time. So
And now you're back. So before we wrap this up, what are your thoughts about BookTube now that you're back?
I need to make a bunch of videos. I need to make a bunch of videos and I need to jump back in because I'm going to be traveling again for the rest of the year, and it'll be a different type of traveling, but I want to be able to. I think what I want to do more than anything right now is be able to just like work on building up a habit of making you booktube videos like you do, maybe not 8 videos a day, but a habit nonetheless that is hard to break even if I'm traveling. So that way, even if I'm traveling, I'll be like, well, this is what I do in a day. It's part of my daily routine. It's part of what I
I
do.
just made it part of my daily routine.
Yeah.
I just love it. So,
Yeah.
and I find that the things you love to do, you aren't necessarily going to do. And it's going to bother you that you're not doing it because your life is better the more things you do that you love to do.
Yeah.
You're not that the fact that you love something is not going to automatically guarantee that you do it. You have to make it part of what you do.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do. I try to do it to make a routine out of as many things I like to do as possible
Yeah.
and eliminate as many as I don't like.
Like annoying trips to the bank and
Like annoying trips to the bank, like annoying real world stuff at all. I don't like real world stuff at all.
yeah, I
That's
know.
why I have a surly houseboy to take care of them. I don't like real world stuff at all. I I don't want to balance a checkbook. I don't want to wait in line at some agency or other. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to do any of that.
Well, I don't want to sleep, but I can't do anything about that. And
That's not
you,
actually true, is it? You actually love it.
no, I don't. I wish I could not. Wish I could stop doing it, but I
You
have.
write poems about it. You write poems
No,
about
I don't. It's an extremely annoying thing that your body requires you to do, and you would know that if you had to do it.
So before you travel out of the country again, are you doing any domestic traveling?
Oh, no, no, no. I need to spend as much time here as I can with the people that I know here so that they don't feel like I'm just totally neglecting them.
And then when that interval is over, you go to visit Joe Spivey at long last.
Yeah. Yeah, I come
Wow,
knocking on his door, yeah.
that'd be something. So much the collab between you and Joe Spivey that YouTube wants to see. It's you and Joe Spivey collabing with Jack Edwards. That's the real thing that everybody wants to see. Hmm.
Yeah, Jack Edwards was DMing me while I was traveling and saying, come to England. We
Can
love
you
you."
imagine the long, detailed, bookish conversations that the three of you would have? Can you imagine?
Well, just by we would say Trollope, and then Jack Edwards would be like, "Who?"
Anyway, we're going to wrap this up. It was wonderful to catch you before you went to sleep. That was great. Uh, uh, but you'll be back on your own channel, and maybe you'll be back on this channel before you leave.
Yeah,
Maybe?
yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Excellent. Well,
absolutely.
then we will exit stage left right now because I don't want to get cut off in mid-word, but I'm
Okay.
getting back. Say goodbye to
All
everybody.
right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.